So hey, out there in SEO land, you SEO pros, just a little quick video to talk about getting a proper setup to do in-screen type videos for potential clients and for clients. One of the things I like to do is on-screen videos like the one you're witnessing right here, and reason being is what we do is a bit of a mystery, and I think it really helps clients. And in fact, the feedback I've got from clients and potential clients is that they really like the in-screen videos because it clears up a lot of the mystery about what we do, and that gives people confidence and makes it easier for them to part with money for your services. And let's face it, nobody likes to buy things that they don't understand. And so we're going to talk a little bit about a proper setup for this kind of thing. One of the things I just recently acquired was this sign behind me because, I work out of the corner of a room in my house, and that's fine and dandy, but it shouldn't look like you work out of the corner of a room in your house. So I want to talk about a couple of things that can help make your recordings better. Number one, if you're going to be seen on screen like I am right now with, down in the corner or whatever corner you want to put yourself in to stay out of the way of the recording, try to get yourself some sort of a decent background. Another thing that I notice about a lot of videos is the room sound that's projected from a lot of the microphones that people buy now. A lot of people use what they call USB microphones, and they're great, but a lot of them are what they call a condenser mic, and condenser mics are very omnidirectional. They pick up a lot of the room, and when people are talking, in some cases I find it so echoey, there's so much reverberation that it's almost hard to distinguish what they're saying, and it's very noisy and it's very bothersome to listen to. So if you listen to professional recordings and listen to like radio DJs, they sound very up close and very tight to the mic like I am right now. So one of the things you can do is use what they call a cardioid type mic. Now I'm using an SM58, and to use an SM58 with a computer, you need an interface, and that interface has to have a piece of software that captures and converts the digital signal or analog signal to digital, and so that's a bit cumbersome and pricey. The unit I'm using is a Steinberg unit, and it's $300 and the mic's $169. So for less than the price of this microphone, you can go out and get a decent USB mic. The Yeti is a really popular mic, but it's very roomy sounding. And another problem with mics is if you don't have a pop filter. I've got this sponge on here. Now you don't really need it with this mic. As you can see, I can go p, p, and it's not quite so bad. It's better if you go p, p. This popping and puffing sounds when certain syllables give off a puff of air into those type of microphones, like the Blue Yeti, will give a very big whumpy bass sound that's very disconcerting for people, especially if they're playing back on speakers that are a little bit larger, and it sounds very unprofessional. So one of the things you can do, even with a Blue Yeti, and I am recommending USB mics because they're mostly plug and play. You can just plug them right into the system. You don't need an interface or any fancy additional expensive tools. But if you're going to get one of those type of mics, I recommend you get one of these foam covers for it, like I just showed here. And these are dirt cheap. You can get them off Amazon or something like that, and for $5 or whatever. And they're going to cut down on all that popping sound. I don't know what you could do to deal with the roomy sound that those kind of mics give off, but some suggestions are: choose a different room, one that isn't so reverberant. Speak closer into the microphone at a lower volume, because the more you yell out into the room like this, the more room projection you're going to get back. And so there's a couple of tips that you can use. As far as screen capture software, I'm using ScreenFlow, and ScreenFlow is great if you're on a Mac. It's not compatible with PC. PC, you can get Camtasia. A lot of people speak well of that. I've never used it. But another thing you can use is Loom. You can go get yourself a Loom account. And Loom is an in-screen recording software. And one of the great things about the Loom in-screen is that you can record and there's no processing time. The videos get uploaded to a cloud, and as soon as you're done, you get a clickable link that you can send somebody, and the video processes in the cloud, and then they can just log in You can also set security for them so people have to log in and stuff, or you can just send them as is. And they're not really publicly available on the web. So it's a private link, and that's another great way for, if you want to save some money and you don't want to, spend $100 or $200 on a screen capture software. You can use Loom, and I recommend that's probably the way most people go. So just to recap, probably your best bet is, again, Loom for recording. Get if you can find I don't know if they make a cardioid microphone in a USB. If they do, I would recommend going that route, because cardioid microphones, they pick up in a very direct, like straight away from the microphone. As you get off to the side like this, you can see that you can hear the drop. The off-axis resistance of those type of mics are better, whereas a lot of the condenser mics are very sensitive and they pick up a lot of the room sound, which, again, as I said earlier, sounds unprofessional. So I recommend, look for a cardioid if it's available. Do a little bit of research. Don't just buy the first thing that you find. Another thing you can get, and I've seen a lot of guys have success with, is a lapel mic. You can get USB lapel mics, but they have a very, very small capture. Without getting into the technical part, the diaphragm in them, they have a very small diaphragm, and they tend to be very scratchy and annoying sounding. So you really want to, check your reviews on that. Although you can get them reasonably cheap, but if they're $9, they're probably going to sound like they're $9. You might want to listen to some bloggers online that have one of those type of mics, and if you like the sound of it, reach out to them and find out what kind they're using, or read the reviews on Amazon and go that route. So there's a few tips. I have a recording background. I was trained in recording engineering, so this was easier for me to figure out, because I knew there was a lot of issues with recording that come up that you just run into all the time when you start placing mics in front of things. Another thing is, if you buy like a Blue Yeti type mic or something like that, if you set them on a desktop and you're typing on the same desktop, they're very, very sensitive, and they pick up all the bass, the thumping bass. And I just find it very distracting when you're listening to recordings that you can hear all this pounding. Now, this one is a bit sensitive. You might be able to hear a little bit of that. And it's because it's fastened to the table with this Rode arm. This Rode arm here is one of these. You ever watched a Joe Rogan podcast? Or a lot of guys have this Rode NT arm. It's about $140. Is it necessary? If you're going to do this and do it seriously, I like it because it creates a little bit of a disconnect from the surface that you're working on with the springs and the arm, so that when you're typing, and if you have a really sensitive mic, it's not going to be quite as much of that thumpy low bass vibration coming through. So you might want to consider investing in this. One of the things you can do if you're using a sensitive mic like that, and it's going to be on the surface you're on, is put a piece of sponge underneath it, under the bass, and that'll create a little bit of a disconnect between the surface, so there's not quite as much of that vibration, that low bass vibration from tapping coming through. So that's pretty much it. Any questions or anything you want to ask about, equipment and different things like that, and other kinds of shortcuts or stuff I haven't covered here, feel free to throw them in the comments down there, and I'll try to answer them for you. Okay, thanks. Have a great day.